Have you ever really thought about how a plain old sales file becomes one of those powerful dashboards that executives stare at to make huge decisions? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole process. We're going to follow a single piece of data on its incredible journey through a modern cloud setup and see exactly how raw info gets turned into real-world business intelligence. So, this is the big question, right? How do you get from A to B? It honestly can feel a little bit like magic. But I promise you, transforming a file from some local server into a dynamic, interactive dashboard is actually a really clear four-step journey. We're going to follow that data every single step of the way, from its humble beginnings all the way to the moment it helps shape a major business decision.
All right, so first things first, our data's journey has to start with its first big leap, getting it off a local server and into the cloud. You can think of this as the launch sequence for the entire operation.
And here's the fundamental problem a lot of companies face. All this super valuable sales data is basically trapped. It's just sitting there on a company's own server, what we call on-premise. And because of that, it's isolated, it's a pain to access, and it's pretty much impossible to analyze with any modern tools. To unlock its potential, we gotta set it free. And this is where our first tool comes into play, Azure Data Factory. Seriously, think of this thing as the ultimate shipping and logistics service, but for data. Its entire job is to move information reliably and automatically from point A to point B, and it doesn't matter where those points are. But wait, how do you connect a private internal server to the cloud without, opening it up to all sorts of security risks? The solution is actually really clever. It's a piece of software called an integration runtime. You install it on the company's server, and it creates this private, totally encrypted tunnel directly to the Azure cloud. This lets Data Factory safely shuttle the files across without ever exposing that server to the public internet. It's like a secure, private bridge.
Okay, so the data has landed safely in the cloud. Awesome. But it's basically shown up in its raw, messy, just-got-here state. Before we can do anything cool with it, it needs a serious cleanup.
And this is a perfect example of what I mean by messy. Raw data is almost always incomplete. You see a record here where the parent_company is null. It's just empty. Now, if you're trying to figure out which parent companies are your most profitable, a record like this is totally useless. Now imagine that problem multiplied by thousands or even millions of rows, and your insights become completely unreliable.
So how in the world do you fix this kind of mess at a massive scale? Well, you bring in the heavy machinery, Azure Databricks. This is our data refinery. It's powered by this incredible technology called Apache Spark, and it can just chew through enormous volumes of raw data. It does all the complex cleaning and transforming, like filling in those null values or standardizing formats to get it sparkling clean and ready for analysis.
Now, while we're in here cleaning things up, we absolutely have to talk about security. One of the biggest no-nos is hard-coding passwords, like the key to your storage account, directly in your code. I mean, if that code ever gets out, your data is toast. The secure way, the right way, is to use a service like Azure Key Vault. It's basically a digital safe for your secrets. The code just asks the Key Vault for the password when it needs it, so the credential itself is never written down where it could be exposed. It's a game changer. All right, our data is now in the cloud, it's all cleaned up, and it's secure. But it's still just a bunch of files sitting there. To make it truly useful, we need a way to actually ask it questions.
And that brings us to our next hurdle. These clean files are sitting in what we call a data lake, which is just a vast, super cost-effective storage space. But you can't run a business report on a pile of files, right? We need a way to ask complex questions of this data as if it were in a nice, neat database, but without the hassle and cost of moving it all over again. And this is where Azure Synapse Analytics shines. Synapse is this ridiculously powerful analytics engine that works like a magic lens. It lets analysts write standard, familiar SQL, that's the language of data, and run those queries directly on the files sitting right there in the data link. You get these high-performance answers without ever having to move the data. It's amazing. And here's what that actually looks like in practice. An analyst can write a simple query like this, which is asking a really powerful business question. They're basically saying, hey, show me all the sales agents and the value of their closed deals, but only for deals over $2,000. Oh, and list them from highest to lowest. It's a direct, important question asked with simple, familiar language.
And that brings us to the final act. This is the payoff. All of this technical work, the moving, the cleaning, the querying, it's all been for one reason:
to turn all that data into actual, tangible decisions.
I mean, this is what it's all about. Business leaders, they don't want to see lines of code or lists of files. They want answers to critical questions. Who are our best salespeople? What products are flying off the shelves? Where's the money really coming from? The entire data pipeline we just built is designed to give clear, immediate answers to these exact questions.
So a tool like Power BI connects directly to our Synapse engine and just brings these answers to life. You want to know which sectors are driving the most revenue? Boom, here it is, a simple donut chart. You can instantly see exactly where the money is coming from. No question about it.
What about those top-performing agents we talked about? Forget digging through spreadsheets. A simple bar chart like this immediately puts a spotlight on the star players of the team, showing you exactly who's closing the biggest deals.
And here's the best part. Ultimately, all of that complex data, all those rows and files, can be distilled down into a single powerful number, an 82% win rate. This is a key performance indicator, a KPI, and it tells the entire story of the sales team's effectiveness in a single glance. That's powerful. So let's just quickly recap that whole blueprint. First, we ingest the data from on-premise with Data Factory. Then, we transform it with Databricks so it's clean and reliable. After that, we analyze it right where it lives using Synapse Analytics. And finally, we visualize the answers with Power BI to drive decisions. Ingest, transform, analyze, visualize. That is the modern data journey.
So, we've seen how the right tools and a clear plan can unlock the story that's been hiding inside raw data all along. Every single organization out there is sitting on data just like this, filled with potential. So the real question is, are you equipped to tell its story?